episode 14 for Discover the Finger Lakes. And do I have a couple of nice historical locations for you? Reason why I'm in my car filming, because it's freaking cold. And as I'll show you here soon, the first location we're going to is what they call the torture tree. There is a sad story behind this, and I will tell you more as I go, but it is a very historical location. And the location where I'm at right now, we're going to show you the Sodus Bay Lighthouse. And that's the reason why it's so cold, because it's on Lake Ontario. So I hope you enjoy that, and it's a historic place as well. And so let's get this episode started. Well, I hope everybody's ready for this part of the episode. This is the Boyd Parker Park. And if you remember me talking about all the time about the Seneca Indians and everything, well, this is a historic place. And we're fixing to find out about what this place is. Okay, so it says here, this wayside shrine marks the place where on September 14th, 1779, two young soldiers of the Revolution, Lieutenant Thomas Boyd and Sergeant Michael Parker, met death undaunted in the line of duty after lingering torture. They marked with their blood the western limit in the state of New York of the great struggle for American freedom. This is hard to see right here, but I have talked about this and mentioned it so many times. But this banner here says the Revolutionary War Site, commemorate farthest point west of Sullivan Clinton campaign, and you know what that is. I've talked about that, where George Washington had Sullivan and Clinton to go throughout New York and destroy all the Seneca villages. Now, this is the location of Little Beard's Town, a Seneca village that was destroyed and where American soldier Boyd and Parker were killed. So, this, I don't know what you think, but we're going to go down to the actual torture tree. Alright? Okay, so The bur oak tree is what this tree is. It's a big tree. Let's take a look at it real quick. It's a big monster tree. It's got to be over 200 years old. And so anyway, let's look. I always like to read this stuff to you. I'll just basically just give you a rundown that the pioneer tradition asserts that Lieutenant Boyd was tied to and tortured on this bur oak tree. His and Sergeant Parker's bodies were buried by their fellow soldiers a few yards away along the creek. This tree was a bicentennial landmark of the Revolutionary War, and in 1990 was placed on the New York State Registry as one of 11 trees of historic significance. And that's something I'm glad that New York does. And so anyway, in 1841, the remains of Boyd and Parker were moved from the site and taken up the Genesee Valley Canal to Mount Hope Cemetery in Rochester for reburial. So as a memorial, the residents constructed a mound over the spot where the bones were exhumed. Okay, so that's kind of neat. So these are some of the pictures, I guess, when they did all this. And look at the old cars. I mean, the picture right here. This is kind of a neat picture. And they've done actual. I don't know if it was probably depictions of the actual area of what happened here. Genesee Castle, or Little Beard's Town, and I'm not even going to try to pronunciate that, but you can see where the hill is near. And the principal village of the Senecas was destroyed in 1779 and was the farthest point reached by General Sullivan and an army of 4,000 men acting under direct orders of George Washington. Okay, and we've gone over that before. And this campaign laid waste the Indian lands and so broke the offensive powers of the British Tory Indian alliance against New York and Pennsylvania. It extended the boundaries of the United States, revealed the fertile country of the Genesee, and resulted in this early pioneer settlement. So as we're walking, we're going to talk a little bit about Boyd and Parker. The Boyd and Parker ambush was a minor military engagement in Groveland, New York on September 13th, 1799 during the American Revolutionary War. A scout group of the Sullivan expedition was ambushed and captured by loyalists and their Seneca Indian allies led by Little Beard. Okay, during the next day, the scouting party spotted a group of 4 Indians along the trail, and a brief gunfight occurred. One Indian was killed, and Boyd and Parker started to return to Sullivan. On the trail, they spotted 5 Indians who fled. Boyd's guide told him not to follow, for it was a trap, but he ignored the warning. They were led into the enemy lines, surrounded and outnumbered. 15 of Boyd's men were killed, 8 escaped, while Boyd and Parker were captured. And besides Boyd and Parker, there are 12 known names of Boyd-Parker party who were killed. One name on this monument, Corporal Calhoun, refers to NCO who died of wounds in an ambush which occurred separate from Boyd-Parker ambush. So, very historic location, I think. Very, very historic. Okay, let's talk a little bit more. Lieutenant Thomas Boyd and Sergeant Michael Parker were among those brought back to the village. They were questioned by Chief Littlebeard. Butler and Brandt finished their interrogation when realizing neither Boyd or Parker would give up any details on Sullivan's plans. They left and turned the two captives over to the care of the Senecas. So, now, Boyd and Parker were directed to what is now known as the torture tree. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the torture tree. History of the Sodus Lighthouse. The Great Sodus Bay is one of the largest and deepest natural harbors on Lake Ontario. After a series of jetties and piers were built to protect the harbor in 1834, the Sodus Outer Lighthouse was established to mark the entrance. By 1871, the Lighthouse Board was looking to replace the outer masthead light and outfit both lanterns with upgraded lenses. A new 27-foot square pyramidal wooden front range beacon was erected between September and October of 1872, and to provide safe passage to it. An elevated catwalk was established. Both the inner and outer lights were provided 6th order Fresnel lens. By 1886, sections of the catwalk were dilapidated, and that year some 260 feet were entirely rebuilt. 4 years afterward, the Lighthouse Board had signed a contract for time and materials to rebuild 620 linear feet of the elevated walk, and by 1891 the work was finished. In 1938, both pier lighthouses were replaced. The wooden inner lighthouse was swapped out for a 25-foot steel skeletal tower, and the outer lighthouse was rebuilt. When the outer tower was rebuilt, it was heightened by 9 feet, and to ensure it would last, it was enclosed with 1/4 inch steel plates. At that time, the lighthouse was also changed over to electricity via a submarine cable connected to a control house at the shore end of the pier. Coast Guard personnel occupied the Sodus Bay Lighthouse until 1980, when the outer pier light was automated in 1984. The Coast Guard turned the 1871 Sodus Point Lighthouse and outbuildings over to the town of Sodus Point. And today, the Sodus Bay Historical Society, founded in 1972, leased the buildings from the town and opened the historic lighthouse as a maritime museum on July 4th, 1985. Well, that was episode 14. A little bit different this time. I like different. So now we move on to our next episode, episode 15. It'll be out soon. Thanks for watching.